Longevity Lifestyle Science. This is Zach with secretsoflongevity.com. Out here, it's a beautiful day. I hope I'm not squinting too much. I've got the sun right in my face to get a good lighting. Anyways, the first question's from Sato Raraz, and they're asking which foods contain omega-6s, or which are the highest in omega-6s. And basically, to sum this up simply, is that any nut, seed, bean, or grain is going to be the highest in omega-6s. Also some animal foods. So the idea isn't to go completely, let's stay away from all omega-6s, because there are certain types of omega-6s are essential, or at least one type, and your body can make the rest, but it's also good to get other types. But overall, having too many omega-6s in the diet is inflammatory, and everyone's talking about omega-3s to help balance these out. And the reason that's being said is because the body needs roughly anywhere from a 1-to-1 ratio to a 1-to-4 ratio. Some people even say as high as a 1-to-11 ratio of omega-6s to omega-3s. So the 1 would be omega-3s, the 4 or so would be omega-6s. So you still need more omega-6s than omega-3s. That's sort of the composition of your body. It has more fats and compounds in it that are made from omega-6s and omega-3s. But most diets are so deficient in omega-3s, people are saying to boost those up to really bring that level into balance. So the simple way to remember it is that any sort of portion of a plant that is going to germinate the soil is generally going to be higher than in omega-6s than omega-3s. There's a few exceptions to that. One is chia seed. It's got mostly omega-3s. Flaxseed, although I don't recommend consuming flaxseed. There might be a few others that are escaping my mind at this moment, but even some of the things that people recommend as being high in omega-3s do actually have more omega-6s than omega-3s. So things like hemp seed has about a 4-to-1 ratio, which is great, but it's still higher in omega-6s. So if you're really off in terms of having not enough omega-3s, you need to consume things like basically chia seed, maybe some algae oil, or fish, or any sort of marine oil. So things like walnuts also would be higher in omega-6s than omega-3s, but they're generally a better ratio as compared to other nuts and seeds. So things like almonds, sunflower seeds, safflower, most other nuts and seeds are going to be much higher in omega-6s and have little to no omega-3s. That doesn't mean you don't want to not eat nuts and seeds, or just be aware of that, and that you want to make sure you're getting a lot of omega-3s from these other sources. The other high source of omega-3s is green foods. So grasses, leafy greens, green juice, sprouts, they're all going to have very high omega-3s and lower on the omega-6s. So that comes to another point, is that animal foods, both eggs, dairy, and their flesh, also have omega-6s and omega-3s in those foods. And if the animal's being on a diet high in grains or high in other foods that are high in omega-6s, that's going to end up being a more inflammatory animal food, and it's also going to not be high in omega-3s. So you hear things about grass-fed beef, grass-fed milk, pasture-raised eggs. All of these things are much better in terms of a ratio and much healthier for the body because they have that proper ratio. They still will have a little bit more omega-6s in certain cases, but they're going to be in that proper ratio, 1-to-4, 1-to-6, or so, somewhere around there, of omega-3s to omega-6s. So I hope that clarifies things. To get a complete list of things that are high in omega-6s, again, I could go on and on talking about different foods, but just keep those basic ideas in mind, that it's sort of the reproductive parts of plants, specifically the grains, beans, nuts, and seeds, that on average are higher in omega-6s, and animal foods that are made from animals that are eating those 4 types of things are going to be high in omega-6s as well. So if you do have a lot of omega-6s in your diet, or you happen to be in a period or a place where you can only eat foods rich in omega-6s, a way to offset that is to take more fish oil than normal, or chia seed oil, or eat more chia seeds, and that will help offset that balance, because these foods are much richer in omega-3s. And then of course the greens and algae and other things like that that are also rich in omega-3s. And a related question, Travis has asked my take on EPA and DHA, which is those longer chain omega-3s, which we need to build the brain structure. Most people's bodies will convert ALA, the shorter chain omega-3s, the 18 carbon chain, to the longer EPA and DHA, but most people's bodies have sort of retracted that ability or lessened that ability to be able to do that proficiently. So some people do definitely find that they have improved health, improved memory, improved cognition, improved joint and eye health when they take krill oil, algae oil, cod liver oil, fish oil, any of these things that are high in these EPA and DHA. If you're a strict vegan, you definitely want to look at the vegan algae oils. Those are okay, although we definitely haven't had algae as a main source of nutrition in our diet, and we're probably more adapted to things like cod liver oil, which has been a superfood in that sense for many thousands of years, especially if you have sort of more European or Nordic ancestry. You'll be very well adapted to that. Those, specifically cod liver oil, is very high in the EPA and DHA for building the brain and joints, etc., but also vitamins A and D, which is great in the winter or any time of year to get adequate amounts of that in your body. So some people say that we can convert enough, or you need to eat a proper diet so that you're able to convert enough. And yes, if you have proper levels of omega-3s and omega-6s in your body, that enzyme that does convert the lower chain omega-3 to the higher chain will be more available from having less omega-6s because it gets used up altering omega-6s. So there'll be enough of it to convert the ALA over. But again, this is very minimally, and we have evolved eating fish, eating seafood, and other foods, even like eggs, which are high in EPA and DHA, which help build the brain. So to a certain extent we've adapted to this, and that's why even some vegan or vegetarian type health promoters do recommend taking fish oil or krill oil or something like that in addition to a very high plant-based diet. So I am on the side of saying yes, do supplement with it. If you're eating wild-caught fish, specifically from Arctic regions, as well as maybe some smaller fish like sardines, etc., you might be able to get by without supplementing with it because you're getting those sources of it, even if you're eating a lot of algae or E3 live or other things like that. Then perhaps you don't need to supplement with it, but if you're not doing those regularly, it's probably ideal to get a really good quality. My preference is cod liver oil personally. It's great for building teeth and bone health as well. So you might want to consider something like that. And just overall feel how your body reacts with it, and feel if your memory improves a little bit, your eyesight might improve, your joints might feel a little more lubricated. That's generally most people's experience. These people that are recommending just completely stay away from these things, I do often wonder, seeing their own skin health, their own appearance, whether that's the best thing that they could be doing. So check out some links below for, actually, I've got sources for the algae, which would be a good source of EPA and DHA. It actually helps your body convert EPA and DHA more readily, which is E3 Live. It's one of my favorite overall brain boosting and longevity and promoting supplements, whole food supplements. And the next question is about eggs, and it's from LoveDubPT. I'm not sure if that's how you want that pronounced, but you're asking, what's my take on the difference between raw versus cooked eggs, and then the yolk versus white? Should we be cooking one and not the other, eating one raw, one cooked? So there's a lot of different opinions out there on these things. The history of consuming eggs was, there's people saying, you know, throw away the yolk, just eat the white because that's you want to be low fat, get rid of cholesterol, etc. And that's pretty silly if you ask me. Then there was sort of a resurgence of that, and people were saying eat the yolks, throw away the white because that, you know, it's too much protein. Again, that's getting kind of ridiculous. This is a whole food, so eat it as a whole package, except unless you're using a specific recipe like making mayonnaise, or you need the whites to make like a meringue or something. Then obviously separate it, but you're not doing that as a staple every day. So when you eat eggs, generally eat them whole, the whole package deal. You could eat them raw, eat them cooked. I do both. I'm not too specific about eating just the egg whites cooked and eating the yolks raw because of the avidin content, which binds to biotin and makes that unavailable, apparently, which can cause dryness of the hair over time because you develop a biotin deficiency. So yes, that could happen if you do have dry and brittle hair and you find that egg whites raw exacerbate that. Then perhaps look at cooking them. I generally eat eggs raw in the smoothie, but I do eat some cooked as well, so I'm getting both factors at play there, the rawness and the qualities in that, but also the biotin from the cooked eggs, and there's biotin in other foods, so it's not like we can only get them from eggs. And then with the yolk, people say keep that raw because it's got a lot of sensitive nutrients in it, like cholesterol and fats, which you don't want to have damaged by the heat, and that's very true actually. So personally I prefer the yolks raw, or at least soft boiled if I'm doing a boiled eggs, or maybe I'll do a sunny side up egg and keep the yolk runny. That's the ideal. You don't want to get them so that it's like chalky dry. The only time I'll do that is if I'm doing hard-boiled egg and I want it in a salad. I'll do it hard all the way through so that when you cut it up it's not just going to be runny in the salad. But, you know, if you're doing the majority of your eggs with a more soft yolk, you're not going to be damaging it anywhere near as much as if you were doing like scrambled eggs every day, which is the most damage you could do to the yolk, because it's having the cholesterol and other things possibly oxidized by most of the surface area of the yolk being exposed to the heat of the high heat of the frying pan and other things. And also keep in mind there is a little bit of EPA and DHA, which is those omega-3s I was talking about, in the egg yolks, especially if they're pasture raised and higher chickens are eating like the greens and grasses and things like that. So it's ideal not to have that exposed to the heat, because that's a very sensitive nutrient for sure that would be damaged and become carcinogenic because of the heat. The next question is from Max, and he's asking for sort of a basic dietary / herbal regimen for someone engaging in a hot yoga practice regularly. The main recommendations I can make is to make sure you're getting cooling foods into your diet, because you're obviously engaging in a very hot practice, but that also depends on the weather outside. So if it's the middle of winter, you're still going to need warming foods even if you have a warming exercise practice. So tending towards things like cucumbers, and specifically this is more so in summer if you're doing hot yoga, cucumbers, greens, more raw foods, probably higher fruit, less spices, like really sort of aggravating spices like black pepper, cayenne, hot peppers, garlic, onions. So when you reduce those things, you're going to have a more cooling diet to offset the heat of the yoga. But then again, if you're in the winter, like in Toronto, and doing hot yoga, or even around where I live, Guelph, it gets pretty cold, and just one hot yoga practice several times a week isn't going to be enough to keep you warm through the day. So don't think you can just do hot yoga and eat a 100% raw fruitarian diet and be able to get away with that, because you'll end up with deficiencies. You'll end up probably feeling cold a lot of the time. So consider more animal foods, more spices at that point. But yeah, you're probably going to be able to get away with not as much as someone who was not doing the hot yoga. So you just have to sort of think in terms of yin and yang, hot and cold. And if you have some hot things going on in your life, whether it's the season, whether it's an exercise practice, whether it's some sort of lifestyle practice, then you can adjust your dietary and the herbal side of things slightly to accommodate that heat by having a more yin side to that. Or if you have a very cooling lifestyle, like you're living in very cold climate and the exercise you're doing isn't that vigorous, then you'd want to eat a more warming diet that's higher in sort of the more yang elements, which would be the animal foods, although not dairy. That's actually more cooling. The warming spices and other things like that. It's probably the best thing for any sort of very warming practice is the yin tonic herbs, the yin jing herbs, which are also very, because you're losing a lot of sweat, they're very moisturizing and help replenish those fluids and retain the fluids. So Schizandra, Hoshiwu, Rhamania, Cordyceps, you've all heard these before, goji berries. You can check out some links below for sources for some of those things. And those herbs are the best for building and maintaining the fluids of the body, and also keeping excess fluid from escaping. So yes, the detoxifying aspect of sweating is great, especially in hot yoga, but too much of it, you're going to be depleting minerals, you're going to be losing other things, and it can actually shift the overall balance of the body. So by taking in yin tonic herbs, you kind of help preserve some of that moisture and vital essence, you could say. So with that, I'm going to say check out those links below. Definitely check out, if you have a lot of comments or a lot of questions, the consultation page on my website. I'm going to be changing some of the pricing soon, so get in there fast if you've been considering it and you want to get the lower prices. I'm not going to give a time frame when I'm going to change that. It might be in the next month or so. And with that, take care and embrace life without limits.